What's up, everybody? It's the Alex Leak and Friends NFL podcast back for another week. I'm your host, Alex Leak. We got Amanda back on the show. Good to have you, Amanda.
Good to be here again, Alex.
And we got a special guest. We got Hall of Fame wide receiver, former Buffalo Bill, Andre Reed. Great to have you on, Andre. Bills Mafia.
We in the building.
Hell
Thank you
yeah.
guys for having me. It's good to be with you. Where you guys located at?
I'm in South Bend, Indiana.
Okay.
And I'm from back there, but I live out across the sound from Seattle now.
Okay, okay. Seattle. I just want to say one thing about Seattle before we start. I love that town. Seattle's cool, different vibe up there. Been up to a couple of the Seahawks games. Over the years, played an old the Kingdom back in the day. So they imploded that. So they got rid of that. But what a great stadium. Lumen Field is really nice stadium there in Seattle.
So Andre, what are your thoughts at right now? I mean, coming off the season that the Bills had last year, contenders, a disappointing end of the season against Cincinnati. What are your thoughts right now going into the Bills, season coming up here shortly? What are you keeping your eye on? What are your thoughts right now?
Well, what am I not really keeping my eye on anything. My thoughts probably more that, this team has been the last 4 years or 3 years has been pretty close, lost to the Chiefs twice in the playoffs and then lost last year. People don't realize that a team has only so many years to get to that point. And the Bills have been there the last 3 out of 4 years. So everybody's gotten better in the division. The Jets got better with Aaron being there. The Jets I think the Jets are a really good team. They're just on the cusp. And when you bring a guy like Aaron Rodgers in, Hall of Famer, especially at that position, that the Jets are going to be pretty formidable this year, when you play them, to anybody playing them. Miami got better. The Patriots are the Patriots. You just don't know. They're still waiting for Mac Jones to a certain point to take that next step. And then, Josh is Josh. The Bills notoriously, since I've been there with Thurman, the backs have been, I must say, I'm not going to say mediocre, but they haven't been as good as a lot of the backs in the league. And that was always the thing. We got to get a running game. We got to get a good back. James Cook showed that last year that he could do that. Who knows how McDermott and the offensive personnel, how they're going to do things with James Cook. Picking up Dalton Kincaid in the draft is a big plus for their offense. I mean, he's another guy. I actually met him at the rookie premiere in LA in May, and real nice kid. And just talked to him a little bit, and he's ready to go. With Dawson Knox, Dawson's going to teach him a lot. And if they bring those two guys in at once, I mean, Dawson Knox is more the inside the numbers to a certain point, the short yardage. Maybe get down the field a couple times, which he has done over his career. But I think Dalton Kincaid, if you look at his highlights with Utah, he's a guy that can stretch the field, and you can split him out. Create mismatches. That's really what offenses want to do, is get mismatches with guys, and that's a big plus for the Bills this year in their offensive scheme. I was very surprised. Usually, the last how many years the Bills have gone defense always in the first round. You can't go wrong with getting another, offensive lineman, which they did. Was it Cyrus? What's his name? Cyrus?
Cyrus Torrance.
Yeah, from Florida. I mean, real big kid, got good feet.
Yeah,
I'm sure he'll make a contribution there, and we'll just have to see how it goes. But I think I give them a B on their draft this year. There's going to be some guys that are going to be playing that but they're going to be big contributors to this season. So, you got to beat the Chiefs. You got to beat the Bengals. You got to beat Miami. We got to beat you got to beat everybody. But you look at their schedule towards the end of the year, November, December, that's when those teams come up.
Yep.
So
Eagles, Chiefs.
Eagles, they got the Eagles, Chiefs. They got the Eagles in Philly. They got the Chiefs back in Kansas City. Everybody's got to beat the Chiefs. If you want to go to the Super Bowl now, AFC, you got to beat Kansas City. Just like when Brady was with the Patriots, you got to beat the Patriots. So you got to beat Mahomes.
Yep.
So every team has done their due diligence to get those players that can compete with those, with the Chiefs. And the way to the Super Bowl is through Kansas City.
And they get a rematch of their snow game that they lost against the Bengals this year in early November. So kind of a good preview for that Chiefs matchup later on.
And people don't realize the Bills went through a lot of stuff last year.
Oh yeah. There was some internal drama too, I think.
A lot of stuff went on. With the Mar Hamlin situation, all the snowstorms that they had in 2 weeks there. And then the thing at the end of the season with Diggs and Josh Allen, which I don't put any credence in it. It just people argue, and whether there's something deeper into that or not, the public isn't going to know that. But you're looking at it as just a football thing, and players argue with each other all the time. I argue with him. I argue with other guys. But as long as you're with me on Sunday, and we're on the same page, we got a better % chance of winning the game, which is what it's all about.
Yeah.
Speaking of going from last year to this year, Leslie Frazier, no longer the defensive coordinator. Head coach Sean McDermott going to take over defensive play calling. Former NFL GM Michael Lombardi saying something along the lines of Frazier left because McDermott told him he wanted to take over play calling. That was the reason. Benjamin Albright says that wasn't the reason. What do you think on that? Would you like to have seen Leslie Frazier stay?
Yeah,
and how do you feel about McDermott taking over?
Well, Sean's a defensive guy anyway. That's what he was in Carolina when he was there before he became a head coach. So he's very defensive minded. As far as Leslie Frazier goes, he's got a proven track record in the league, different places. So I think he did a great job with that team. I think we were not this year, but the year before, we were #1 overall in defense. His resume speaks for itself. Whether or not you're going to look at, oh yeah, I want to call the plays, and I don't know if that was really the reason. But maybe he was. Maybe that is. Maybe that isn't. But Leslie Frazier, I think his track record is proven. He's done a great job, and a little suspect there in that Bengals game, maybe. But they had a top 10 defense, top 5 defense the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So you can't say that he started from scratch and was working with new players and trying to learn the system and all that. Those guys responded, and maybe it was a decision of his to say, you know what, I need to take a break.
Yeah. Yep. You never know.
Most people are ruling that out. Oh no, he don't want to take a break. Hey, just get tired too. You got to give him. That's what was one of his reasons. But if Sean's going to call the plays and call the defensive plays, that's it's not like they're losing anything. I think Sean, knows defense.
Absolutely.
I think fans forget that. I mean, the people who are managing NFL teams and running offenses, like, they're people too. They have families, they have personal lives, they have health struggles, and the fans just kind of forget that the people they're watching on TV and reading about are, they're human beings too. So there's a lot of
the average fan doesn't say that. They don't go, well, they got families, they got they got issues too, and maybe it's overwhelming or whatever. But some guys feel like it's time to take a break. I mean, Dick Vermeil back in the day, I'm a good football historian. Dick Vermeil, when he was with the Eagles, he quit coaching, period. And ended up coaching with the Rams and won a Super Bowl with the Rams. So I think he was out of football for about 15 years.
Wow.
Before he started coaching again. So they are human, and they they need a break too sometimes if that's, if it goes down that alley, if it goes down that way. So I don't see anything crazy about Leslie Frazier leaving and saying, yeah, well, he's calling the plays. That's why I'm leaving.
And speaking of the running back room, I like James Cook a lot. Naheem Hines, good pass catching back. I think you are talking about Latavius Murray, right? As a running back. But to me, you're talking about you want to beat the Chiefs, you want to beat the Bengals, you want to take that next step, get to a Super Bowl. You know how I think the Bills should add is Dalvin Cook. Now you got the Cook brothers. Dalvin Cook, it was a monster for the Vikings. He could be that guy. You talk about, having a little bit to take the pressure off of Josh Allen. A guy like Dalvin Cook could really help him. Plus, at the same time, the Dolphins are interested in him. The Jets are interested. The Patriots.
Yeah.
You're not only adding him, you're keeping him out of the division.
Yeah, but stuff like that happens. They don't have the means to get a guy like that. Somebody else can snatch him up, just like just like Odell. Odell was out there for a while and finally got with the Ravens, but I thought that the Chiefs were going to get Odell, or I thought that the Bengals or, those teams, you want to try to keep them away from those teams.
Exactly.
It's hard to do sometimes.
Yep.
That's what it feels like watching the Eagles add all of the best talent to their team. Like, come on, you guys have enough. Like, give somebody else some of the good players.
But see, people don't realize they still have to play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They could be all this, the all Georgia team on the Eagles, but if they're not playing together and cohesively playing together, and it's happened in sports. You can have five in basketball. You have five of the best guys. If they don't play together, they look like the team that's in last place.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it's all about everybody on the same page, knowing what's going on, playing for each other, all that. That's how you win championships. The individual guys, they do their thing, whatever, but sooner or later, that's gonna, that's not gonna happen either. So you need the backups. You need everybody that knows what's going on every single game to win games.
Yep.
So
you might be that guy.
So speaking of knowing your teammates and knowing what's gonna happen and knowing each other really well, I gotta take you back real quick. Complete side note, Alex, sorry.
All right.
Speaking of Frank Reich, there was a Super Bowl game when you caught 2 touchdown passes. One was a 23-yarder, I think was it 92? And the other was a 40-yard pass. And there is a clip behind you of Frank Reich unzipping his jacket as soon as you catch the ball.
Oh, the playoff game against
because he was going to hold it for the extra point, and he knew as soon as you caught that ball, you took like one step maybe. He was ready to go for the extra point because he already knew you were going to score.
I did see that. I was on One Bills Live, and they had that clip, and they specifically looked at that and stopped the film and put it in slow motion and saw Frank unzip his coat.
He knew he was gonna score.
That was pretty good. That was fun.
So how are you feeling about the wide receiver room? So they add Trent Sherfield, already Trent Sherfield with in Diggs' absence, Trent Sherfield was looking great. Some good chemistry between him and Josh Allen. To me, though, I really like last year's draft pick Khalil Shakir. He only had 10 catches, but he really stepped up in the playoffs. And I think he could really become have a good second year.
Yeah, I mean, you can't go wrong with a lot of good receivers and guys that can step in. And he stepped in and did a really good job. I think everybody in the building there and everybody in Bills country and Bills Mafia is waiting for Gabe Davis to be a little more consistent.
Yeah.
And be that second guy, that solid second guy. With Stephon there. So I think he's heard that chatter, and I think he'll be called on a lot more this year. This is his 3rd year now, so I look forward to him having a big season.
Speaking of that, I like a rookie you guys got this year, 5th round pick out of Florida, Justin Shorter. He's a
Yeah.
bigger body guy. He's what, like 6'4", 220. He could be a guy to keep an eye on too. If Gabe Davis doesn't step up, Justin Shorter could become that number 2 or maybe a future number 1.
Yeah. Speculation is all speculation is all speculation. Got to see how he does in training camp when the bullets are flying. And some guys are great college football players, and then they get to the league and it's a different bullet. College is a different bullet than the pro game.
Yeah.
You got to be able to, instead of just having one bullet in your chamber, you got to put like 5 or 6 of them in there when you get up to the big boys there. So, but he was at a good program, Florida. A lot of these guys come from good football programs, and they get them battle ready coming out the gate. So I'll be watching him for sure.
Yeah.
Well, another thing we wanted to watch this season with the Bills is the pass rusher situation. Von Miller's coming back from his torn ACL. He's, good to go now. He had 8 sacks in 11 games before his injury. So we know Von Miller can perform. And they're adding pass rusher Leonard Floyd that they picked up in the offseason.
Yeah.
Do you think having Von Miller is going to be, or
of
not
course,
having him?
Of course. I mean,
do you think that's what made the difference last year in the postseason?
Yeah, I think so. That's like taking Bruce Smith off the field.
Yeah.
I mean, Von Miller is Bruce Smith, but he's close. He's up there. And then Greg Rousseau, I think, really had a good year last year. He's progressed every year. This is really the year where Greg Rousseau has to have at least like 8, 9 sacks.
Yeah.
Because we don't know with Von how he's going to be. So Greg, I think it's not that there's pressure on him, but within himself, I know he knows he can get double-digit sacks. That's going to help the defense. And Leonard Floyd has, been proven there when he was with the Rams. Kind of a more lanky guy, coming off the edge. He's better. I think he's better in pass situations. So you'll probably see him more. And it depends on the team they're playing. You might see more standing up than being on the ground. With his foot in the ground. But that's just an added plus for them, where he can stand up and he can rush a passer.
Yeah, I was just going to say, with all the added talent and stuff this year, do you think that the team feels the amount of pressure that you guys felt in the early 90s to take advantage of everything and win it now? Because I know we've talked about how a team has a short window to make it all the way. Do you think it feels about the same way that you guys were feeling back then?
I don't know. It's just, different team, different eras. I mean, all that kind of stuff. I had 7 Hall of Famers on that team.
Yeah.
And I played with those guys 10, 12 years. So, early in my career, we only won, my first year we won 2 games. My second year we won 2 games. And then my third year we won 4 games, and then we started winning in like 87, 88. We went to the championship game in 88, I think. So every team's going to go through a period where they're building and getting the right personnel. That's why GMs and head coaches and all that, they do a lot of work. They don't ever rest. Those guys, as soon as the season's over, they're already, they see their family for a little bit, and they're already working on what they got to do. It's really a 24-hour job for a coach. But the window has closed a little bit. Yeah. And I said that earlier, you only have so many years to get the right people and get the continuity you need to vie for a championship. So I think the Bills, does the team feel pressure? I don't think in a way they do. Maybe the front office does and the coaches because, they're not playing. So we'll just have to see how they do.
Yeah.
As someone who's been there, what advice would you give to the younger players on the team about how to best block out the, outside noise and the expectations to win? Like, do you have any advice that you would give them if you were, in the room with them talking about it?
Well, that's part of the game. That's part of what the game's about. That's what the press gets paid for. They get paid to, they get paid to push your buttons. Just focus on the task at hand, do what you got to do. Let the chips fall where they may, and go out and play hard every single play, every single game. You can't measure effort. You can measure a lot of other things, but effort you really can't measure. And these guys, they have the players that could do it. Again, are they feeling pressure because all these other teams are on their heels? Well, 3 years ago, the Bills were the team to beat. They were them, Kansas City. They weren't even talking about Cincinnati 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
So as the years go, more teams get into that bowl. The Bengals are in that bowl. Miami could be in that bowl this year. Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Jacksonville's a good football team.
Yep.
They're rising, with the young quarterback, and Trevor Lawrence is going to be a lot better this year. So it shrinks down. The walls get a little closer to you, but you got to go out there and play.
So I'll give you my prediction. I think the Bills, looking at their schedule, looking at how the division got tougher, I still think they win 10 to 12 games. Battle for first place. I think the Jets are who they're going to battle with. Aaron Rodgers, that Jets team is solid. So I think it comes down to them and the Bills. How about that week 1 starting out Monday Night Football?
Yeah.
Aaron Rodgers.
In New York. Yeah, right. Yeah, in New York City.
Yeah.
I was there about a week and a half ago. That's going to be a good game. That's going to be that could set the tone for the AFC this year. That game. On the road there in New York against them. A good defensive football team. The Jets have 2 good receivers in Garrett Wilson and I don't know who the other receiver is. I forgot who it is, but
they got Lazard.
Yeah,
that's right. We got Lazard. So Aaron has a little history with him.
Yeah.
So the Jets are going to come. They're coming in, man. They're coming in full steam ahead, and the Bills better be ready to play the game. Just like last year when they played out here against the Rams. The Rams coming off a Super Bowl championship, playing the Rams the year before. So, and the Bills did a pretty good job. They beat the Rams up that game. So you got to win your division. Win your division games. Marv always said, don't worry about week 8, week 9, week 10. We got to win this, the AFC East, before we can do anything.
Yep.
Do you have a guesstimate for how many games you think they'll win this year?
I'm not a good predictor of things. I think
Fair.
I just don't predict, really. Okay, I guess I'll predict this one. I think this could be a three-way battle. It's going to come. I think this division, the AFC East, is going to come down to the last 3 or 4 weeks of the season. And if Miami's playing the Jets, or the Jets are playing us, I don't know what the schedule is, or the Patriots can beat the Jets or Miami. That could be the difference between winning the division and being a wild card. So we'll just have to see how that turns out.
And how crazy would it be? I mean, we're both Cubs fans. We saw when the Cubs finally won in 2016, the celebration and how special that was. How crazy would it be for Bills Mafia if they finally get that championship? That would be so special. I think the entire country would love to see that once.
Yeah, the world would like to see that.
Yeah.
I'm just concerned about tables. Are there enough tables to handle the Super Bowl win?
Be enough tables.
Okay.
And if they win the Super Bowl this year or any year, Walmart and Lowe's and Home Depot will be out of tables.
It's going to be like the toilet paper shortage during COVID.
Yeah.
But folding
people
tables.
just going to the store in line for tables.
I've been a closet Bills fan for a few years now because I love Josh Allen, and the Packers have been pretty hard to watch. Make it to the championship game, lose like clockwork every year. So I've had to root for some other teams. So I'm kind of been pulling for the Bills. And honestly, watching Aaron Rodgers win a Super Bowl on a different team, no. So I'm full in on the Bills this year.
Okay, I got you.
I've got 2 tables I'll donate to the cause.
She's like, So she just turned the tide right there. She said, "Well, he's my quarterback, but he's on the Jets now, so nah."
Oh, when Brett Favre retired the first time, I just pretend those 82 years didn't happen.
But I just, FYI, they did happen. So there you go.
I have the jerseys. I have a jersey from every team he played on. So I mean, I know, but we just pretend.
Yeah.
Well,
what did
I was
it
in
feel
history
like?
class.
What did it feel like when he left Green Bay and went to Minnesota?
Yeah.
I mean, at least there was a year in between for me to get over it.
But still, it's still for your average fan, for your average crazy fan that's a big Packers fan, seeing Brett Favre go to the Vikings.
I loved it. As a Bears fan, I loved it.
Ever since.
Yeah, get out of here. He should have went like to the Browns or something.
Anywhere, yeah. I would root for him on the Browns, Yeah, it was dirty. It was dirty.
But that's football. That's football for you. But I'm looking forward to the season. I look forward to every season. I'm their biggest supporter out here on the West Coast. I don't wear my Bills. I only wear when I'm doing stuff. I'll wear my Bills and stuff. But
I was going to ask if you have any other teams.
What's that?
I was going to ask if you have other teams. Like, who was your childhood team growing up before you played for the Bills? Was there?
I was a big Pittsburgh Steelers. I was a Steelers fan.
Okay.
I was a big and I wore 88 in college because of Lynn Swann.
Nice.
So yeah, I always tell him that too, and he always just laughs at me. It was true, man. I wore 88 in college because I loved the Steelers. I loved Swan and Stallworth and Bradshaw and my man up there, Franco. I mean, and I seeing them guys every year at the Hall of Fame is a big thrill for me, even because I was a high school kid watching them, and they were my team, and those are my guys, and I always tell them that, And we lost Franco last year or this past year, and what a gentleman! Not only as a football player, just a gentleman he was. You could not help not like a guy like Franco Harris because he was just even keel, smooth.
I mean, some of those old Steeler games are still amazing to watch now.
Oh yeah, I mean, half of the hall is all Steelers. Really.
Yeah. There's a reason for that,
Yeah. So, again, this year is going to be another tough year for all teams. Out of the 32 teams, at least half of them got better. Through the draft, through free agency, through however they had to get their players. A lot of these teams got better, and then the teams that are on the rise, like Jacksonville and those kind of teams are going to be pretty formidable this year to play.
Yep. We'll get you out of here on this. So we all know when the Bills are playing their best football, when they're hitting on all strides, they can beat anybody. How tough is it? Everyone talks about how important it is to be playing your best football in the playoffs. How tough is it as a team to not peak too early, to peak in the regular season or peak at the wrong time of the year,
Well, you're gonna go through some times where everything's not gonna go right, and you might squeak a win out, but you didn't play well. You should have lost, and then there's going to be some games where you play great and you lose. So the games you're supposed to win, if you want to call it that, supposed to win, you got to win those games outright, because those are the games that come back around November, December that could bite you. So, and most of the time, the toughest part of a playoff team's schedule is at the end of the season. December, late November around Thanksgiving, and then 4 weeks in December before the playoffs start. So it's imperative that you win the games you have to early, and then let those other teams beat each other up. We should always let the Jets beat the Dolphins up, and the Dolphins beat the Patriots up, and the Patriots beat the Jets up. As long as we're winning those games, and you might drop one or two, but you don't want to drop a lot of games in your division.
What is your best story about Jim Kelly from back then? Do you have a funny story, or
how much time we got?
I mean, we'll stay on as long as we can have you.
Yeah, exactly.
Quarterbacks get a lot of you know, because they're the focal point.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I came when I played. It was social media.
Yeah.
So you weren't really out there. These guys got to be careful about what they say, where they go.
Yeah.
You know, a picture back in 1990 is not the same picture in 2022 or
They
23.
gotta watch their old tweets, their old MySpace posts and stuff now.
Yeah,
Everything,
yeah. Some
yeah.
of the kids, young kids, you say, yeah, man. You know what a DVD is, or do you know what that kind of thing? Because that's
Yeah. Cassette player or something. Yeah.
all
Dial-up
that.
internet.
Yeah, they you had to get your information in different ways back then. You had to figure what was the paper. That's the only way you can find
Yeah.
or that's the only way you can find out about things in the paper or in TV and the news. You can't go to a thing and type in something and boom, there it is. They didn't have. So I'm kind of glad. Kind of glad we didn't have that kind of access.
Got to be yourselves more. Didn't have to be so curated.
Yeah, well,
like
you could be. I think you could be yourself more now.
Okay.
Yeah.
To a point, because everybody's watching.
Yeah.
You know, you could your personality. If you have a certain kind of personality, that personality can come out, and it can be all over the place now. It's not in the locker room, or it's not at your house. It's as soon as you put it on Instagram or all these other social media apps or whatever, it's out there for everybody to see.
Yeah.
Which can be a good thing or a bad thing.
Yeah.
What's that? Yeah.
So it can be a good thing or a bad thing. As someone from
Yeah.
the PR corner, I'm sure your wife understands from a marketing viewpoint as well.
I'm still under a microscope. You know, I haven't played in 20 years, but I'm still under a microscope, and I have to know that, you know, whatever I do, it's a reflection of me and my foundation and how I go about doing things. And I'm not going to put my kids or my wife or my family through something stupid because of my stupidity.
Yeah.
It's, being an athlete is a hard job.
Yeah.
Because you're watched all the time. I was just at a golf tournament here for Deontay Wilder, the boxer.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you had all kinds of different athletes from different genres. You had basketball, baseball. It was like all that kind of setting. Everybody's taking pictures and Instagrams and selfies and all that. Mm-hmm. So you just hope that you're acting accordingly and they don't get you doing something and then they throw it out there in the la la land and everybody sees it.
Yeah. Yep.
So you gotta be careful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate your time so much, Andre. This was a blast. It's always an honor to have you on the show, and you're welcome back anytime, man. Appreciate it so much.
You got it. You got it, guys. Thanks for the talk, and go Bills.
Yeah, well, we should do a postseason roundup and check in with how the Bills are going.
Oh, okay.
Maybe a Super Bowl
actually,
preview. Hell yeah.
I wore this helmet for about 12, 13 years before, all the concussions, they had to change it.
Yeah. It's a good looking helmet.
So I was blessed to play as long as I did with the players that I played with. And I wouldn't take that back for nothing, whether we went to 4 and lost or not. There's guys that don't even play in 2 playoff games.
Yeah, absolutely. So
and
you balled out in all those playoff games.
Right? Eric Dickerson, Barry Sanders, all these players never played in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And they're all-time legends.
Yep. Absolutely. And so are you. Absolutely. Hall of Fame.
Right there. You got it.
I think that's how you end a podcast right there.
Absolutely. Thanks, Andre. Good stuff as
you got
always,
it, man. Appreciate you guys.
Thanks, Andre. You have a good night.
Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment. Peace out.